Welcome back, folks. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today I am going to be doing what I believe is the 7th or 8th or 9th mailbag. I've totally lost track, but very excited to do it, and this is going to be exactly what you need to kill some time. Maybe an hour. We'll see how long this goes, but to kill some time before the primetime game. Rams, Vikings, the entire season is on the line. Winner take all. You either move on and play the Philadelphia Eagles or you go home. And right now, there's a lot riding on this game. Before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Also, be sure to follow me on all social media at JKBogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. And in addition to that, just want to let you guys know, before we dive in to the mailbag, and we have the most we've ever had, all the way up to 64 comments. So appreciate you guys with the participation this time around. We have today's sponsor, Prize Picks. So, guys, in case you didn't know, Prize Picks, if you never played this before, you can get $50 instantly by playing at least a $5 lineup, 2 to 6 player projections, and you pick either more or less, and it's really that simple. Using my code JKBogan will get you that. So we're going to do a quick lineup here that I'm going to make, my gut lineup. You have to have at least one Minnesota Viking. So with that said, I think Sam Darnold is going to have more than 34.5 pass attempts. Now, you look at this, he's hit this in 4 of the last 5. Love it. I'm going to take Sam Darnold more than 34.5 pass attempts. I'm also going to have Matthew Stafford to have more than 240.5 yards. He hasn't done that. He's done it once in the last 5 games, obviously against Buffalo. But I do expect him to do that. I think this is going to be kind of a turnaround moment for the Rams offense. And so I expect Stafford, with everybody healthy now, knock on wood, he's going to have more than 240.5. In addition to that, I like Puka Nacua pretty much any single time that I see Puka Nacua. I like him to have more than 100 yards in this game. He's done it. He's averaging 100 yards the last 5 times. Now, I said 100, but it's 89.5 exactly. I feel that good about this one. So we're going to go with Puka Nacua there. We're also going to go with, if I can find him here, we are going to go with Tyler Higbee, wherever he is. I believe this is in the popular section. So let's go to receiving yards. We're going to go with Tyler Higbee to have more than 23.5 receiving yards. He had 46 against Seattle. He has not had that type of game, but now it seems like he's fully healthy. He's going to be important. Minnesota allows more, basically more field that is open, the percentage of openness over the middle, than any defense in the league. They play predominantly single or 2 high safety looks, and I think Tyler Higbee can take advantage of that on the seam buster. And last but certainly not least, I like Kyren Williams here, and so do Prize Picks users, 8.7K to be exact. I like Kyren Williams to have 10.5 receiving yards. I like him to have more than that. He's only done it once in the last 5 games. However, I think this is a very, very important game where Stafford knows, okay, look, I know this is a very, very important game. Stafford is going to be quicker to make decisions. It seemed like they started to get the passing game going in Week 18 against Seattle. In Week 17 against Arizona, when they had to have it, they had it, and Kyren Williams had more in that one. So keep an eye out for Cooper Kupp to have more than 48.5. This is somebody that I think will probably end up proving me wrong, although at the same time, I kind of feel like he's just going to prove me right, because I kind of feel like right now, since I've been talking about Whittington so much and not benching Kupp, but like taking away the snaps, cutting back the snaps, it just seems like this is the game where he's just going to turn back the clock. And by the way, I don't care if it is. I'll take whatever I can get here as long as it's a win. So again, Prize Picks, check it out, JKBogan. All right, it is time. You guys have been asking. You've been waiting. Here we go. 6 days ago, we're starting off. Jesse is tired 16. Hope you're not that tired and you can stay up. That's a terrible joke. Okay, what is the chance now the Rams can get Jair Alexander knowing he might be available this offseason? I think the chance is decently high if the Rams want to go that route. I don't know why they would, to be honest with you. I love Jair coming out of Louisville. I've always, maintained he's one of the three best corners in the league. But then he started to have injuries, and he's getting suspended, and he's just not reliable. And, whether that's mean or not, the unfortunate truth is that you have to be reliable for me to pay you, and corners get paid. And, yeah, I don't think it's going to work out. I couldn't really see the Rams necessarily doing that based on the body of work, but who knows? Maybe they could. I just wouldn't expect them to do that. So I'm kind of out on Jair Alexander with all the injuries and everything, unfortunately. Watt, run it. Do you think Jimmy G's performance might have planted a seed in McVay's mind that he can actually be Stafford's successor? I kind of hope not. No. But Garoppolo won't be Stafford's successor. That I know. But do I know that Garoppolo won't be the bridge quarterback that leads to his actual successor, a.k.a. the heir to Stafford's throne? That I don't. Could the Rams stick with Jimmy G as a bridge quarterback? Maybe. I don't think so, but I wouldn't rule it out. He played very well in Week 18. Do you think the Rams lose any coordinators in the offseason? I think LaFleur will be gone after next season. Great question. I'm going to say this. I think keep an eye on Chris Shula. I think there is a possibility he's going to be kind of a dark horse, head coaching candidate. I'm not saying he'll get there, but I do think Mike LaFleur is going to get opportunities to do what Matt LaFleur did when he was the offensive coordinator for the Rams. He moved over to the Titans to call plays, and I do kind of suspect that Mike LaFleur is going to get that same opportunity. But I think the Rams, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams named him the primary play caller so they didn't lose him. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's wishful thinking. This should be a less bloody offseason for the coaching staff, as in years past. I mean, we'll see. There are definitely some guys, but it should be less bloody. I think if they lose anybody, it would probably be Aubrey Pleasant if a team really wanted to take him on as a defensive coordinator. Hell, he could even replace Jimmy Lake over in Atlanta. We'll see what ends up happening there. Joe Anthony, 50-64. For those of us that like to sprinkle a little action on the games, what player props do you like in our matchup, or where do you think each offense will attack? Would love 1+ on each side. Oh, yeah. Well, pretty much what we talked about on Prize Picks, the projections that I like. I think the Darnold one is good. I also really do like Justin Jefferson to score a touchdown. Van Jefferson scored a touchdown, by the way, for the Steelers in the playoff game. I think Justin Jefferson, I like him to score a touchdown on that side. On the Rams side, if you want to go with a touchdown, I think Kyren Williams, those are safe. If you want to go crazy here, anything you can find on Jordan Whittington, just jack it up. I'm not saying they're going to use him the way I want them to, but if they do, Whittington is going to have a huge game. So, those are my thoughts. In addition to what I already said earlier. With McVay's interest in tight ends, Carlos T., the last couple seasons, thoughts on McVay wanting to evolve the offense from 11 to more 12 personnel. Seems like having just one great tight end, even if it were Bowers, would be too minimized within the current construct of the offense with how tight ends are currently schemed. I don't see him ever moving away from 11 personnel primarily, but I guess, I kind of see what you're saying. I think that they would just, if they got another tight end, they'd use 12 personnel for sure, but they would never focus their energy on 12 personnel, in my opinion. I think Sean McVay, it's in his blood. He always wants to run that 11 personnel. That is who Sean McVay is. So, yeah. Do you think the Rams will pursue a more home run hitting back east to west kind of runner? I love Kyren and his consistency in getting at least 2 to 3 yards each run, as it helps the offense flow and is incredibly underrated, but he can't hit explosive very often, and I feel it has kind of hurt the offense's explosive play capability. Kyren is obviously a cornerstone and does everything else well, but an explosive back could help. To go along with this, what's the future of Blake Corum if they did go after another back? Alan, I think this is a great question. if Corum suffered like a torn ACL or Achilles or something like that, I think his like career with the Rams would be in jeopardy. Like, because I could easily see them drafting a guy and then paying Kyron and then kind of being in that no man's land and, you know, wanting to give Blake an opportunity, but knowing that they have their guys. But because that is a non, you know, the injury sucks, but it's not the end of the world type deal. I think he'll be back for next year, like as early as week 1. You know, maybe even earlier than that. But yeah, interesting. I mean, the way I see it is I don't think Kyron's hurting the offense explosive wise. I mean, I think that's really just, you know, right now Cooper Kupp doesn't have the explosive ability. They don't really use Tutu Atwell much. They don't use Whittington enough. It's really just Puka Nacua. Because some of those wide receivers need to have some explosive ability too. So I think Kyron, while he doesn't have that home run hitting ability, I do tend to believe he is explosive just in a different type of way. He's not, you know, in my opinion anyway, he's not Jahmyr Gibbs, but he does a lot of the things well that Jahmyr Gibbs struggles with. So it's like you take the good with the bad. That's what I would say to that. I mean, I could definitely see them adding another guy, but you know, we'll see what ends up happening. They don't have a guy on the roster that runs a 4.4 40 time. So that could very well be based on what they prefer in their running backs. It seems likely that Ramsey will be traded in the offseason should the Rams try to bring him back. I think the Rams want to get young. I think they want to continue to get young, definitely at wide receiver. Cornerback, I mean, I personally think that they really don't have to make too many moves. They have plenty of cornerback depth. I mean, you talk about bringing back Darius Williams another year and Akello Witherspoon and those guys being cost effective. And then you have Kobe Durant in his contract year, and Darion Kendrick is back, and Trey Tomlinson, and then the guys that you found this year with Josh Wallace and Cam Lampkin and Woods. Like, I think they have a lot of guys in the corner room right now where I'm not like rushing to go out and get a guy. If Ramsey was cut, that'd be more interesting, but I don't think the Rams would trade for Ramsey. I do know that they like him a lot, even still. He's got a lot of fans in that building. We'll see what ends up happening, but I don't expect them to trade for him. Do you think with the way Darius and Akello have been playing recently, they will both be back next? I love the way this lines up perfectly. Thank you, Adrian. Both be back for next season as our starting corners. I personally love their dynamic. I also wouldn't be opposed to bring back John Johnson as well. John Johnson, I think it really is dependent on how well he performs in the playoffs. What's his role? Again, cost-effective veteran. I could really see him being brought back if they need a guy like that. Darius and Akello, yeah, they have a really good rapport working with each other, as does Kobe Durant. So it's like, they don't have to do anything with Darius. He's already under contract. They just need to bring back Akello to make that work. Everyone else is already they have so many guys under contract, and Kello's the only one that is a free agent. You bring him back, and yeah, I think you're in good shape. Maybe add another corner, but they're pretty good right now. I think people continue to complain about this secondary, but they don't even realize how good this secondary has been as of late. They give up yards, but there's a lot of this bend don't break that's happening that's really working for them. And it's not like in years past where they're purposely giving up yards. They could be shut down. Look at how many times, they're the best fourth down defense over the second half of the season in the playoffs. So they've been very shut down as of late. So give them credit there. And I love the way these all piggyback off each other. John Johnson ended there. When John Johnson comes back from injury, would you start him over McCullough? Or would you convert Lake to permanent slot corner, or just make JJ a backup? So this is how I would have it. I would continue doing the rotation, sub packages, guys work in different ways. I think Jalen McCullough is really good in run support. I know he has 4 interceptions, but I think that's really like his calling card there. I think John Johnson is going to get more playing time than many think, but what does that look like? And I think that's a fair question to ask. Quentin Lake is going to play every snap, whether, he's at slot or, he's playing deep safety or in the box or whatever. Cameron Curl's going to play every snap. And then you're going to have guys come in those 3 safety looks. You know, maybe a Cam Kinchin's here and a Jalen McCullough there and John Johnson here. But for the most part, those guys are all going to kind of rotate in and out and play off their strengths and weaknesses. So that's what I would say there. Thank you, Kevin. What would you say to the Seahawks fans saying that they are better than us and we basically started our starters that right now Jimmy G is somehow better than Stafford? I don't care what they have to say because their team isn't playing in the playoffs and the Rams are. I think if you take that away from it as a Seahawks fan, then you just totally miss the bigger picture. Your team doesn't have the depth to hang with the Rams. The Rams' second stringers, most of the backups that were in, were playing just as well. I mean, you had double moves being won by Whittington. Okay, you had a guy who hadn't seen the field all season long on the defensive side of the ball, Emmanuel Forbes, doing a really nice job covering DK Metcalf. It's just silly. So yeah. Do you think that off-ball linebacker is still a need, or do you think Roseboom / Reader and Spates will get it done for at least one more year? Roseboom is a restricted free agent. I believe Reader is not a free agent. Oh, no, Reader he's an unrestricted free agent. And then you have Spates. I think Spates, guaranteed Spates will start next year. Roseboom, I'm not sure. But if the price is right, Roseboom is cost effective and he's a good player since he's been playing next to Spates. I would at least bring him back. I don't know if he would start. I definitely could see them being interested in an off-ball linebacker. You also have Jake Hummel, who's played well in short amount of opportunities. So, we'll see what they do there. But this is also another spot where they might just continue to be like, look, we crush it in UDFA. So we might just go that route. Who knows? Do you think that the Rams should blitz against the Vikings a lot? As we saw, it worked for the Lions, or do you trust the 4-man rush to generate enough pressure to make Darnold uncomfortable in the pocket? Yeah, I would blitz Darnold. I think the Rams are... Really, I just keep running the defense the way the Rams are doing it. The defense has not been the issue. They've been really, really good. The only thing that really they struggled with was against Seattle, against their starters. They're dealing with a lot of different guys playing out of position, not, having any sort of rapport with some of the other guys. And it's like you saw that, the touchdown that, Akello gives up. You could just see he was kind of all out of sorts because, he's playing with different corners and different safeties. And, Darius Williams didn't even play, right? So there are points where, you see Tyler Lockett wide open. You're like, what's going on? Coverage bust. This doesn't happen. These guys aren't really used to playing with each other. And so much that goes into football is the communication aspect of it. So when you don't have that rapport and guys aren't talking and communicating, it could be a problem. So I really would just keep doing what they're doing. They've been blitzing way more since the bye week. And I just would like to see what they've been doing because I think what they're doing is kicking ass as it is. Final Flash, appreciate you. If you can have one Super Bowl loss become a victory, would it be 2001 Rams versus Patriots or 2018 Rams versus Patriots? I didn't include the loss to the Steel Curtain because the majority of us were not alive for that. That's fair. I would probably say the 2018 Rams versus Patriots. And the reason being is I was so young when the Rams lost, the Greatest Show on Turf lost to the Patriots. But the problem here is that if I change that, do the Rams end up with Sean McVay? It's kind of like it's better to play chess, not checkers here. And obviously, I would love to. I mean, Tom Brady would be erased from history. No one would know who Tom Brady was, except for the guy that lost in the Super Bowl if the Rams win that. But at the same time, it's like if the Rams are really good, they probably never go through any of the ruts that they went through. Actually, they still might have, but for some reason, you alter time in any sort of way, and it's not a guarantee that they get Sean McVay. And I think Sean McVay is so valuable that if I could get Sean McVay with a Super Bowl in 2018, perhaps he has 3 right now instead of only 1. Who knows, right? I mean, maybe he doesn't win. Maybe they'll trade for Stafford. I mean, they're different things. It's like I almost want to say I would rather not change either of them just because when you change history, things change. But I think 2018 Because if McVay wins that Super Bowl, I don't think, moving forward, I don't think that he has only one so far. I don't think he's only in two. I think he'd have more, if I'm being honest with you. Winning that, the momentum, 2019, they make the playoffs and all of that. Yeah. I mean, because if they win that game, that means Jared Goff would have had to do something. If they win that game, Jared Goff hit that, touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks and probably stepped up in a big way. So you don't have to worry necessarily about Jared Goff, and you have the offense where we're watching it right now with the Lions. He might not be the guy. Obviously, Stafford's better. But when you look at what the Lions are dealing with, Goff is, running that offense pretty well, I would say. So, yeah, I think I'd say 2018. I just would not want to lose Matthew Stafford, and they probably don't. That's the thing. 2001, you don't get Sean McVay. 2018, you probably don't get Stafford. It's like pick your poison. Maybe 1979 is the best one because it's bragging rights. They probably still operate the same. They probably still win the Super Bowl against the Titans. They probably still win the Super Bowl against the Patriots, against the Bengals. And then you just have a third. So it's just bragging rights. I'm going to say that. Creative, but I'm going to say 1979. I don't know. There's something about that I find cool. Plus, for the people that are like older Rams fans, they deserved it. The Rams didn't win an NFL championship, Super Bowl or not, since 1951. So, yeah, I'm going to say 79. Final flash. That's a great question, by the way. If you could have just one former Ram win a Super Bowl, who would it be? I'm going Steven Jackson. He was the heart and soul of the terrible, terrible Rams teams. I am too. I really wanted Steven Jackson to win that Super Bowl when he went to New England. Of course, that was the 1 year it seemed like they didn't win, but I was really rooting for Steven Jackson to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I would probably say Steven Jackson as well. Honorable mention, Todd Gurley, because Jackson had a chance to have a full career, albeit not great teams. Still had a chance to have a full career. Todd Gurley did not, and was easily MVP level with the Rams, and then he deals with the knee, and just really unfortunate what happened to Todd. So those are the two that I would say there. Is there any corner that you think can lock up Jay Jettas on the Rams like the Lions corner locked him up? Man to man. I mean, I think Kobe could. I mean, I think they all are capable. Kobe, Kello, Darius. The way, Amik Robertson plays, he's scrappy. He was shutting him down. I think they were really, I'm going to be honest here. I think the play calling in that Vikings game was just bad. Justin Jefferson just kept running slants. Robertson was really good. I don't want to take anything away from the coverage and everything, but at the same time, I feel like they kind of took away by rushing Sam Darnold. There wasn't a ton for them to do. So maybe the play calling wasn't that bad. There just wasn't much for them to do. Justin Jefferson should have more of an opportunity in this game to actually run some decent routes. But I think that those guys can all do something there, and they could all, make a contribution trying to stop him, if that makes sense. That's a great question, though. Final flash, last one with Daima. Last one with Daima now introducing Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. Do you think they have to face an incredibly powerful enemy, Fuse, and we see a Super Saiyan 3 fusion? Great question. I'm going to say they don't. I don't know. I think they will see an enemy. I don't know if they see a Super Saiyan 3 fusion, but I appreciate you for the question. I hope I'm wrong. Kevin, who on this Rams D-line do you think has the highest chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year in the future? Oh, that's tough because it's either Verse or Fisk, and I really feel like Fisk could someday. But I'm going to say Jared Verse because I think Jared Verse has already shown you. I mean, the stats, the sacks are going to come. The counting stats are going to come, but we're already seeing just incredible pressure, top 5 pressure from a rookie. And he's going to gain more in his arsenal. This offseason, he's going to work on other things. He's not just going to be a bull rush machine. So that's exciting. Really athletic. I could really see that. So I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go with Jared Verse. Do you think Puka would have had a chance at the Triple Crown if he was healthy the whole season? Yeah. If Puka stays healthy for all 18 weeks, 17 games, I think he absolutely has a shot at the Triple Crown. The only issue with Puka is he doesn't score as many touchdowns as, say, a Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, it feels like he was scoring every single week. Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown season, every single week. Puka Nacua is not the go-to guy in the red zone, I notice. I mean, Demarcus Robinson has 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, that kind of tells you everything right there. How do you think the team will react after seeing what Dan Campbell had to say after the Vikings game? They'll use it as motivation. I mean, they were going to come out either way, strong or not strong, depending on how they go about their things. It has nothing to really do about Dan Campbell, but it's that type of year, that time of year where if you put any sort of bulletin board material out there, good luck. These guys are desperately trying to find some sort of edge in the postseason, and they can use that. Do the Rams re-sign Bobby Brown III? I hope so. Takeover. I hope so. We'll see. I could see them moving on and just having Tyler Davis take over, but it's going to depend. I mean, are they going to pay him? Like, what's the deal here? If they want to pay him, I think he would like to stay. I don't think it's anything wrong there. But if they don't pay him, I mean, I expect him to go to the Falcons. I expect him to go back with Raheem Morris. We'll see what ends up happening. Johnny, what jersey and number are you going to wear on Monday Night Football? I'm pulling out my 99 AD Greatest Show on Turf vintage jersey. Well, I'm going to use the number 9 Matthew Stafford jersey I have, Royal. And the reason being is because, I'll just tell you right now, we had almost 10,000 donations when I was wearing it. So it's got to have some sort of good aura or good luck, right? So I'm going to go with the Matthew Stafford jersey I wore during the telethon that wasn't the telethon to raise money for the LA fires, the fire relief. So, yeah, I'll go with Stafford, Glock 9. Regular show, Jake, do you think the Rams will be more dangerous next season, depending on how this playoff run shapes up? Also, love your coverage on the Rams. I wish I could like and subscribe to your channel 100 times. Thank you, regular show. Do I think they'll be more dangerous, like depending on how this? So are you saying, I mean, I guess asking you a question when I would have to wait for your question sounds really dumb, but I guess really how I'm interpreting this is, will they be more dangerous next season based on how well they do this playoff? So like if they struggle in the first round, does that hurt them next season? Or does it help them next season if they do well in the playoffs? I think there's a momentum dynamic there. They got to start the season better than they have the last 2 years. I mean, I know this has been great, these two, but you got to you have to give yourself more wiggle room. You have to give yourself some momentum. Just going down 1-4, injuries or not, 3-6. I mean, that's just not conducive to winning football. They found ways to overcome those, but now, the payment comes due. Are you good enough? You're going to have to play a 14-win team to prove it. So I get what you're saying. I'm going to say they'll be more dangerous next season based on the fact that their offense should be way better. I'm expecting their offense to be way better. So that's what I would say there. P-Train, what do you think the Rams will do and then should do with Cooper Kupp at the end of the season? My gut is telling me, well, I know Cooper Kupp will want to take a pay cut. My gut is telling me this is Cooper Kupp's last year as a Ram. I don't know why. I have no inside info on that. That's what my gut is telling me. I think he's going to be open to a pay cut. I think he could be back, but I'm leaning towards the fact I think the Rams are going to either cut him or trade him, and they are going to get younger at the position. And what does that mean? Is that Puka Nacua and Garrett Wilson or Puka Nacua and, going out and getting a young receiver like a Chris Olave? I mean, what does that look like? Draft pick? I don't know. I do think Whittington is going to start next year, and people are going to be very surprised because just the way people talk about him now, it's like, there are plenty of Rams fans that are high on him, but there are plenty of Rams fans that look at him in the 6th round and they just like, there's no way he's going to be that good. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, he's a 1,000-yard receiver if they let him be. He's going to be potentially special if they let him be. But if they don't, if he doesn't end up being special per se, I think he could be like, Deebo Samuel was before he fell off. So, we'll see. But currently, as of right now, my gut is telling me this is Cooper Kupp's last year with the Rams. We'll see. Again, things can change. P-Train, heading into the offseason draft, what do you think the Rams should do with their first-round pick? Should they go after a wide receiver to replace Cooper Kupp, a right tackle to replace an aging and often injured Rob Havenstein, or someone else? So currently, I could see them going with these 3 names. Emeka Egbula from the wide receiver from Ohio State. I'm not saying he'll fall into the Rams' lap, but he could be an option. Tight end Tyler Warren from Penn State. And then the offensive tackle, Ariante Ursary, I believe from Minnesota. I don't remember the college that it might be Minnesota. But yeah, those are the 3 guys that, like, in my mind, they make the most sense for the Rams. If they go defense, I could see them going with a Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. I don't think he's going to fall as far as the Rams are going to pick, but who knows? We'll see. Great question, though. Are you more worried about the Lions now that they got the bye week? Are they going to get a lot healthier, particularly on defense? I feel like the best chance to beat them would have been in the wild card. Well, you're absolutely right, Watt, and no doubt about it. Best chance to beat them would have been the wild card. They are going to have, it sounds like anyway, they're going to have Montgomery back. Getting the other guys back, that we'll see. But yeah, they are you worried about the Lions? I think it'd be kind of ignorant not to be worried about a 15-win team in a winner-take-all game on the road. But at the same time, I think the Rams can beat them. So the best chance would have been in the wild card, but we'll see. If you had to guess what really went down with Goff and Rams/McVay, I feel like the Rams have been painted as the bad guys in this thing, and I'm wondering if it is warranted. I don't think it's warranted. I think both parties had some issues. I think Goff had an issue when he was benched for John Wolford in the playoff game. I don't think he ever really forgave him. And this is no info being tossed out there. This is just my personal opinion. So I think it's part of that. The Mike Silver interview, we never see Mike Silver hanging around the Rams anymore. We never see his reports, about the Rams. And we used to see him all the time. And I don't know if it's because he was close to Jeff Fisher or whatnot, but, when he did that, interview with Goff in like the back of the plane or whatever, I forget what it was, but Goff kind of vented to him and it just the optics didn't look good. It kind of reminded me, if you guys are sports fans, Yankee fans in particular, but sports fans, remember when Joey Gallo kind of trashed the city of New York? Like, oh yeah, like, it's hard and being here and all this. And he kind of just said like a woe is me, holier than thou type of thing to the media. And people ate him up for it. I don't want to put Goff in that because I think Goff's a good dude. And I mean, Joey Gallo's probably a good dude too. The optics were awful when he said that. Goff also went to a Super Bowl with the Rams, and Joey Gallo did nothing with the Yankees. Probably the worst statistical hitter, I think, in 500 at-bats. But the point I'm making here is that Jared Goff didn't end his tenure with the Rams as this high and mighty, happy-go-lucky guy. I mean, there was definitely something there. And, I don't think anybody's guilty because I think the way they went about it, trading for Stafford, it didn't seem like they were really keeping Goff in the know. So I think both parties were at fault. This is what happens when you have human beings in kind of this discussion and in a situation. So that's what I would say. I don't know for sure, but that's like kind of my short answer, I guess, abbreviated. Sean McVay over John Harbaugh, I would take. What do you think about Tyreek to the Rams? I don't think about Tyreek to the Rams. I don't like Tyreek to the Rams. Tyreek Hill came out after the game in a game that, like, if the Broncos lost, the Dolphins could have gone to the playoffs if they won. And it's a tough year, and Tua Tagovailoa was injured, a lot, and there's all sorts of stuff. And he comes out and he says, "I'm done." Like, he wants to be traded, all that. That is the exact opposite of a receiver I think the Rams would want. I think it's the exact opposite of the receiver that I would want. So I would not want Tyreek Hill. Plus, he's already said before he's not going to play super long. He's going to retire early. Is that next year, 2 years from now? I don't know. I don't want to get caught with that contract and then having him retire early and then owing all that money. So I'm out on Tyreek Hill. Takeover Steve Avila has been a little disappointing. I know he got hurt against the Lions. Maybe he was a little banged up before that game. They didn't let us know, but he's been back for some games now, and his pass pro hasn't been great. It's like he regressed a little bit and isn't consistent every single snap. He's still a stud, but he didn't take a leap in year 2 or continue to play as well as he did all of last year. He looked like a vet out there. He was by far the best rookie guard. Now in year 2, Osiris Torrance has been the best guard out of the draft class. 546 pass blocking snaps, no sacks allowed. I love his game. Potential I saw last year, playing every snap super consistent, just disappointed he hasn't looked good or improved being consistent in pass pro and run blocking schemes. Run blocking sometimes. Yeah, I think that's fair. I love Steve Avila. I think he is going to be a long-term part of this offense. But, yeah, I was really disappointed in the way he played against the Seahawks. I think it's partially why he was playing those. You have to keep in mind that injury does matter. He missed a lot of games. And so I think, to say that so it's partially fair. I get he's been a little disappointing. But to say he's regressed, I don't think that's necessarily fair because he's been banged up most of the season. So I guess we'll just wait and see. How does Avila look in the postseason? The time is now. Appreciate that, though. Who is the most overrated player on the Rams, in your opinion? One from the present and one from the past. Okay, so, man, this is kind of negative, so I don't love doing this, and I like and respect everybody that's ever been a Ram. I mean, I'll say the most overrated from the past is probably Cam Akers, who we will see in this game. The way people defended him was like he was a 10th overall pick, like Todd Gurley, rookie rushing title, all of that. And it was never warranted to me. And then I finally got on the bandwagon a little bit because I thought the valiant way he finished 2022, I thought that was going to translate. And then he kind of quit on the team. So regardless of what anyone says, okay, it's a business. But yeah, it's a business, but he quit. I mean, let's just be honest here. He quit. When he found out that Kyren Williams was going to be the starter and it wasn't going to be this split time and he wasn't going to take over, he quit. That's what happened. So I would say he was the most, the overrated based on who I can think of right now. One from the past. And then present on the team, I mean, it's tough. Overrated Demarcus Robinson, I guess. He has 7 touchdowns, and he's been decent at times, but it feels like there's this group of people that are just obsessed with Demarcus Robinson and look at him as more than just a guy. He's good at some things. He struggles at some other things. He went 4 games in a row, 5 targets without a catch. I don't know. It seems like there have been better running backs and wide receivers in the past and talented skill position players that weren't, I guess, celebrated the way Demarcus Robinson is. And I understand, 7 touchdowns, OT touchdown, the game against the Saints. He's had some big games. But it just seems like that's kind of safeguarded him from any sort of criticism. So I like him, but if I had to pick anybody from this roster, it would probably be him. And I still don't even like saying it. I just feel like it's too negative. But I appreciate the question, Brandon. Why do you think the NFL is so much better than the NBA, and what can the NBA do to compete? Yeah, I think the NFL is astronomically better than the NBA. The sport's better than basketball. It just is. I love basketball, but I would rather watch college basketball than the NBA. I think there's a lot of entitlement. I think it's the league of entitlement. I'll never forget going to my first Laker game, being all excited. They dominate the first half against the Nuggets. The second half, everybody quit, except for a couple guys. But like, it's just like, are you kidding me? To me, that is the league where guys get paid way more than maybe they deserve. I think the NFL is just, it's better run. I think, say what you will about Roger Goodell, he's a way better commissioner than Adam Silver. Adam Silver just wants to be everybody's best friend. Like, he just wants to, befriend everybody in the league. I don't think he's really done a great job. I think that mid-season NBA Cup is a joke. It's really pathetic, honestly. It feels like something where it's kind of like, and initially I was okay with it, and then I think about it, I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of dumb. And yeah, it just feels like he coddles players, and I don't know. And I just feel like with the NFL, it's a league where David Tyree can exist. It's a league where Geno Smith can have redemption. It's a league where Sam Darnold is being talked about, after winning 14 games. It's a league where you can go from being a number one overall pick, maybe not living up to your potential, and finding a way to be something down the road. It's a league where a guy who wasn't drafted can be one of the best players in the league, or a guy who's drafted in the 5th round, like Puka Nacua, can be a superstar, or coaching actually feels like it matters just way more. It's just so much better. And the NBA, it has nothing to do with all the games, because I watched every single Yankee game this past year, 162 games. I'd watch 162 all day over the 82 in the NBA. The NBA is boring to me. It's the same thing over and over again. Fouls are ridiculous. Penalties can be annoying in the NFL, and they can slow down a game. But for a game that is continuous in the NBA and basketball, they really love just blowing the whistles. So what can they do to compete? Well, they can stop coddling the players. They can start making the draft matter, because the draft doesn't matter. There's only a handful of guys that'll even be given opportunities. They can stop with just the stars. It's a very star-driven league. That's a problem. That's a very big problem. The NFL doesn't have that. They have stars, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like I said, David Tyree and Mario Manningham, these guys making huge plays in big-time spots in the Super Bowl. And Malcolm Smith winning Super Bowl MVP. I mean, that, like, the equivalent of that is like if, I don't know, say, man, I can't even think of a guy that would, well, let's just say this. Let's just take a random player in the back end of a bench on any team. We'll say if Jared Vanderbilt of the Lakers in the NBA Finals in Game 7 blocked like 6 game-winning shots in a row on the same possession, or he had this huge alley-oop through 3 guys, or he made this crazy shot fading away from 3. Like, that to me, you don't have that. You don't. Like, and if you do, it's not preserved. I mean, Mario Chalmers made some huge shots for the Miami Heat, and no one ever talks about that. They talk about Ray Allen's shot against the Spurs. Ray Allen already established. Over the hill, sure, but established. Like, Hall of Fame level talent. That's the thing. The NFL, anyone can step up and make a big-time play. Akello Witherspoon's interception to seal the deal, essentially, for the Rams season and bring them on to the playoffs, beat the Cardinals. When do you see something like... When does that happen? You get a buzzer-beater shot here and there, but, you know, I don't know. I just think the NBA is just it's just boring. Currently, my favorite 3 sports right now are the NFL, the MLB, and UFC. college basketball is for, and I don't really care about the NBA. I play this dynasty basketball league right now that I do, and I don't even watch the games. Like I was so turned off by that Laker game that I went to that I don't know if I'll watch another NBA game. I hate this entitlement. I mean, come on. Do you ever see anybody in the NFL have that level of entitlement that they have in the NBA? Also, could you imagine, obviously, yeah, Aaron Rodgers getting Devontae Adams, that's probably the closest thing. But could you imagine like Matthew Stafford like openly coming out into the media and saying, yeah, I want this guy and this guy and this guy. And, you know, like LeBron James is literally, and I like LeBron James, but LeBron James has literally he's forced his way into a general manager role, essentially. You just don't get that in the NFL. It's way more respected, appreciated, and understood. And I just feel like the NBA is just kind of, it's novelty. It gets old, and people only watch until the playoffs, you know, once the playoffs get there. The NFL, you can watch a really bad matchup in week 5, and you could have that on Thursday Night Football, and people are still going to find a way to watch. So they don't call the NFL the National Blowout Association, but they do call the NBA that. So those are my thoughts. Oh, man, you untapped my thoughts on that. I do not like the NBA. I don't. I used to love it. I don't know. Who would you take and why? Kyron Williams, Eddie George, and Edgerrin James all in prime. That's tough. I'm probably going to go with Kyron Williams, but Edgerrin James is a Hall of Famer. I just think Kyron Williams in pass protection, that's what this team needs. But then again, I'll go with Kyron Williams just because, you know, pass protection. But Eddie George had that kind of big back style. Still, I wouldn't take Eddie George over Kyron or Edgerrin. Edgerrin James, however, this is somebody that I would really think about. I mean, again, Hall of Famer, but if we're talking like right now based on like what this team is, you know, kind of looking at Edgerrin James, and I changed my mind. I'm going to go with Edgerrin James. He ran a 4.3, receiving back. I'll figure out the pass pro. And he could have been good at pass pro. I don't know because I watched him from the standpoint of just being a running back in fantasy football and all of that. I mean, he retired in 2009. So I was still young. I mean, he retired the year Sam Bradford was drafted. Or, excuse me, the year before Sam Bradford was drafted. The year Matthew Stafford was drafted. His first year was the greatest show on turf year. He had 1,500 rushing yards. Yeah, I'll go Edgerrin James. We'll scrape that for the record. I love Kyron. Edgerrin James would be insane with this offense. Kind of random, though. Edgerrin James and Eddie George. Brandon, you're asking the questions today. Did you hear Dan Campbell tell Vikes coach we'll see you in 2 weeks? I did. I like the way Quentin Lake handled it. Yeah. I've talked about that so much that I don't have really too much to add. I'm just ready for football at this point, but yeah, I did. What position do you think is the weakest on the Rams team? Okay. Quarterback, no. Running back, no. Wide receiver, no. Tight end, no. Tackle, no. Guard, no. Definitely not. Center, no, I guess. Defense line, no. Edge, no. Linebacker, yes. Linebacker, because linebacker, you have Spates, you have Roseboom, and you have Hummel. So if God forbid any of those guys go down, who the hell is filling in? So yeah, I would say that's the weakest, I would say right now. Which Rams team is the best Rams team ever assembled from 1990 to 2025? I am going to say that the 2018 team with that offensive line, I feel like the 2018 team might be. Just because they had the defense, the offensive line, Todd Gurley. Well, you know what? My tiebreaker is going to go to the Greatest Show on Turf because you get Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt. And then the defense is good. It wasn't a bad defense by any stretch. It is overlooked. I'll still stick with the Greatest Show on Turf. That's what I'll do. What iteration of that? What does that look like? I mean, let's take a quick gander here. So we got the 1999 Rams were number 1 offense in the league, number 4 defense in the league. That was Peter Giunta as the defensive coordinator. And then the Rams were number 1 offensively and had the number 31 defense in 2000. The year they went 10-6. Mike Martz was head coach, and they lost to the New Orleans Saints in the wild card round. Hakeem dropped the ball. Okay, then 2001, they were 1st and 7th defense. I'm going to probably stick by 1999. Lovie Smith was the defensive coordinator with Mike Martz. And the question was, of course, better Rams team. And the team doesn't necessarily mean roster. It is what it is. It's roster and, in my opinion, it's coaching staff. So with that said, I am going to say that I would take Dick Vermeil as the head coach, Mike Martz as the offensive coordinator, and Giunta as the defensive coordinator over, and this is hard for me because I love Lovie Smith, but I would take that over them because you don't have Vermeil. And I think Vermeil was a way better head coach than Mike Martz. I mean, the results speak for themselves. If you keep Martz in that offensive coordinator role, that's where he thrives. Vermeil is a Hall of Fame head coach. He is special. He is a culture builder, changer, all of that. So yeah, 1999, I'll take the Rams there. Okay, now let's see what we got here. Most overrated Rams player. I said DeMarcus Robinson. I'll probably stick with that. If you're talking about, previously mentioned Cam Akers. So yeah. If the Rams lose coordinators like LaFleur or Shula, do they get any picks in return? Unfortunately not, Kevin. Only minority coaches get that. However, Ray Farmer, who is in the front office, he is interviewing for the Jets general manager job. If he were to get the Jets general manager job, the Rams would be entitled to 2 third-round picks, 1 this year and 1 next year. And keep in mind, the Rams have 2 third-round picks as it stands right now. They have their current third-round pick, which they're awarded. Every team is. And then they have a third-round pick for losing Raheem Morris that a lot of people have forgotten about. So you can stack third-round picks, and they would have a third-rounder if they lost Ray Farmer to the Jets. So keep an eye on that. Do you think the Rams will be more or less active in the trade/free agent market than last year? It's tough to say because, I feel like they look at this team and, they got decent cap space. But it's like, what do you have to really change on this team? You have to start thinking about maybe the future here. The guys that are, you're not getting bludgeoned by the guys that are in free agency. I think you bring back Alaric Jackson. I think you bring back Akello. I think you figure out things with Cooper Kupp. If not, you move on from him. There's not a ton to figure out. Like, Stafford will get a rework deal, but he's still under contract, so it's not like they're losing him. I think they'll probably bring back Jimmy Garoppolo to back up. And then, we'll see what they do via the draft if they draft anybody at quarterback. Corner, they're good. With the Kello signing, they could add somebody in the draft. Safety, they're really good. Probably the deepest safety room they've ever had. So they feel good there. So linebacker, maybe they shell out some dough for linebacker. Maybe they shell out some dough for wide receiver and tight end. I just don't think they're going to be as active as maybe some people want. But who knows? Maybe they will. I think that they are going to stay the course here. Just because you have the money doesn't mean you need to spend it. So I think they're going to stay the course. And, do what makes sense for their football team. They're not going to go too crazy. This would probably be the off season if you wanted to go out and get a big time player with that first round pick again, like F them pick style. This might be the off season to do it. There's not a ton of guys. There's guys that really stand out, like a T. Higgins. But at the same time, there's not like tons of options that are, oh yeah, you got to spend all your money on this guy. So I don't know if I answered that, but yeah, I don't expect them to be as active as they were this year. Paul, do you think Kupp will have a significantly reduced role moving forward? I think it'll be reduced. I don't think it'll be significant. I still think he's going to have a good game against the Vikings. Kind of feel like he's going to turn back the clock with all the talk I've had of him, but who knows? I mean, we'll see what ends up happening there. Good question. Do you think we will ever see 2021 Cooper Kupp again? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, since then, Kupp has suffered 2 major ankle issues, okay? And both of them have been at State Farm Stadium playing the Cardinals. So you had 2022 where he's killing it, looks really, really good, and then middle of the season, bad throw, over his head, falls on his ankle, done for the year. Then you had the issues in 2023 where he just wasn't fully healthy at any point, just felt like he was really dealing with it. And then 2024 after having tightrope surgery. And then 2024, he suffers a ankle issue, high ankle sprain against the Cardinals in week 2. And so I just think the injuries have caught up to him. They did say he was all the way back preseason, during training camp, and then unfortunately suffered that injury in week 2. He had like 12 catches in the first game, something like that, over 100 yards, touchdown against the Lions. That's the Kupp I think we were going to get the whole year if he didn't get hurt, but sadly he got hurt and he's not separating on the level he used to. Making those quick cuts has been a little difficult. I think he's lost some explosion. Does he get that back after the season? Who knows? But I feel confident in saying, the rest of his career, he's never going to be a Triple Crown threat ever again. Could he maybe get to 1,000 yards if the ball bounces the right way? Sure. If this offense was a little bit better, if they had more consistency on their offensive line, Kupp probably would have gotten to 1,000 yards this year. I think he was in the 700s. So, yeah, it's certainly possible for him to do that, but he's never going back to the 2021 Kupp that we know and knew and loved. That's just not reality, unfortunately. That's why injuries suck. I hate them because if he didn't get hurt, he'd be huge. So, yeah. Is it me, or are the Rams not taking a ton of deep shots anymore? For example, 2021 had a ton of deep shots, players like Van Jefferson, Kupp, etc. Yeah, part of it is they don't have the offensive line protection. When you're taking deep shots, you need protection. You need to be able to have a quarterback that is confident he's not going to get decked. The play has to develop. You have to wait for the receiver to run deep down the field. You can't just throw it immediately and have him run over like under it. You can. It works sometimes. Jaden Daniels had a crazy one tonight to McLaurin, but it doesn't always work, and most of the time it never works. So, yeah, it's a long developing play that takes time, so you need the offensive line to throw that. Otherwise, you're going to get killed, and you could have a fumble. How easy of a schedule do you think we have 2025? Middle of the pack. I wouldn't say too easy. I wouldn't say too hard. Middle of the pack, but we'll see how things go. I mean, you're playing the winners of each division. So you play the Bucs next year. You play the Eagles next year. You play the Lions next year. That sucks. You have, does it suck? I mean, who knows? We don't know how these teams are going to be. If the Lions lose both of their defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, am I to expect them to stay at this level? No, I'm not, honestly. But, things change. Eagles, will they get poached? I mean, the way, Fangio is coaching, helping that defense, I don't see him going anywhere because I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job anytime soon. So I think he's safe. What does that look like? Tampa, maybe a new head coach, probably wishing they had Canales become the head coach because Bowles has struggled late in games. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, I think as of right now, the schedule is fair. It's a first place schedule, and that's the reality of it. Watt. Prayers to those affected by the fires, but Jake, thank you, by the way. But Jake, do you think this will affect the Rams and their chances of winning? Worried? ? I don't. I think it will be on their minds, but I think also there's a lot to be said about a team that is literally relocating like Noah's Ark, as Tyler Higbee put it. All these, the family, the players, the pets, they go on the plane, they go over to Arizona. They're playing this is way bigger than any game that they've played all year. So it's already big in that it's a playoff game, but then you have that emotional aspect of like what this means for the city. And, a win for the city would be huge. So, yeah, I just don't see them. Like, I'm not worried. Like, there'll be moments in the game like you might fret a little bit. Like, if they start off slow, people will be like, oh, it's just too much on their mind. But I really do expect them. They've had time. This didn't just happen like the day before. They've had time to at least somewhat process what's going on. And I just think this all falls on the coaching staff. And, if you're a betting man, how do you bet against Sean McVay? How do you not believe in what Sean McVay has put out there? And to me, Sean McVay is going to have these guys ready to go. And if they lose, then they lose. But I just don't think it's going to be because of, the devastation in LA. I understand some people might disagree. I think this is a 14-win team, and I definitely don't want to, relegate them to a team that just beat another team because they were going through a traumatic event. The Vikings deserve to be here. They deserve to be probably hosting their own playoff game. So I'm not going to take anything away from a team that won 14 games this year. But the Rams did already beat them earlier in the year on a short week. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Okay, Spuddy G. And this is a big if, the Rams win versus Vikings, would you rather have them go on the road and play the Lions or the Eagles in the divisional round? So this has already been decided as I'm recording this. Apologies. I actually wanted to play the Eagles. The reason being, Eagles had 4 turnovers today, and they only scored 22 points. Jalen Hurts has just not... He's been dealing with that concussion. He's been in concussion protocol. He just didn't look great today. This Eagles team feels beatable. And I just feel like since I spoke with Andrew Whitworth on this show and, he really gave me kind of the idea like, yeah, this isn't the explosive Rams in the past where having, playing on that turf, the speed, if you will, is there. Playing on grass with the way this team grinds out games down the stretch, it actually does make a lot of sense to want to play there. So, we'll see what happens. But I think looking at that, I really wanted to play the Eagles in that round. And I know a lot of people want, revenge on the Lions, but I don't know. Part of me felt like I kind of wanted revenge on the Eagles. And maybe it's more personal because I traveled 3,000 miles away and they lost 37-20, and Saquon went for 255. I think the Rams are going to have a chip on their shoulder, knowing look, we're not going to allow you to run for 255 again. And that was the game. After that, they won every single game after that, except for the Seahawks game. So we'll see. But that was kind of where I was leaning. Not that I don't think they could beat the Lions. I truthfully feel like they can beat anybody, but I was leaning Eagles after really not wanting to go to the Eagles. I just was really starting to lean towards them after the Whitworth interview because he kind of talked me into that. But, yeah, regardless, doesn't matter now. If they win, they go to Philly. Okay. We got, do you think they should give Jimmy a couple snaps in the playoffs just to see how it goes? Like they did before, I can't remember if it was preseason or Matthew was hurt. They did a 2-quarterback kind of offense. I think it would keep the defense unsure, in my opinion, but don't get me wrong, I fully believe in our QB1. I just thinking outside the box. I appreciate the outside the box thinking. I would probably say no. Jimmy doesn't offer anything different than Stafford, so he's just not as good as Stafford. So, like, while I don't want to discredit Jimmy, it's not like what we saw with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, where you have that explosive running ability of Justin Fields or, something like that. Like, to me, if you were going to take Stafford out for a play or 2 plays or 3 plays, it needs to be like a mobile quarterback, a running quarterback, if you will, not just like kind of another guy, So that's how I would view that. Would you go to Philly for a potential NFC Championship game? Thoughts on bringing Ernest Jones back? Ryan, appreciate that. No, I don't want Ernest Jones back, and I wouldn't go to Philly. There's a colleague of mine at Roundtable Sports who just dealt with some awful stuff from Philly fans. His girlfriend, I believe it was just getting some just nasty things said to her. And he put it on Twitter, so you'll probably be able to find it, Bazarowski on Twitter. But it's I just don't want to be a part of that. Like, I don't need that negativity near me. I also, full disclosure, I want to be able to go live right after the game in the comfort of my own home and be there for you guys. And I feel like when I go to games, I have to now wait like 5 hours. Well, not 5, like 3 hours, 2 hours after the game to record. Because, everything that goes on in between then and there. And so, yeah, man, it's a great question, but I would turn down going to Philly. But it also isn't going to happen because Philly would be a divisional game, not an NFC title game. So I guess at that point, would I go to Detroit if they played the Lions in the NFC title game? Or would I go to SoFi if they played Washington? I'd still probably not go because I don't have a big, extravagant social life. I work a lot. And so when I get a chance to see these people that are important to me, it's normally watching these games on TV. They normally come over and watch them. It's why all my stuff is here. People come here to watch games because I can go live right after. They know the drill. As soon as the game's over, hug, dap up, all that, goodbye, and now I got to go to work. And that's why it's so much easier for me to just not go to the games. But I always will go to at least one game a year if I can. And this year I went to 2. So I feel pretty good about that. But, I had opportunities to go to the Arizona game. I mean, like the game in Arizona. I had opportunities to go to it back when it was at SoFi. It didn't make sense to me based on, where I'm at right now. I'm in the zone. I want to be able to get stuff out live. And it's that simple. So some people will agree with it and totally understand it. Some people will disagree with it. I like going to football games. But I like going to events, but I really do like being here right after a game to react and be authentic. So that's how I would say that. But appreciate that. Rams win it for those of us LA facing these fires. Also, that slip up was funny as hell, Jake. Which slip up? I feel like there's always a slip up. It's like I called Devontae Smith Devontae Adams in my most recent video. Are you kidding me? I don't know. I'm so hard on myself too that it's just annoying, but it is what it is. Alan Fisher, do you think Demarcus Robinson is on his last season with LA? Do you think it's because of the DUI or because of his age plus production? I think he's on his last season because I think his job was to come in for a year. They liked him enough. They brought him back for another year. Could they bring him back for a third year? I wouldn't say it's impossible, but I do believe what I have been told is that this team wants to get younger at that position. And so you got Puka, you got Whittington. Does Tutu come back? I think that would be very cost effective since they've pretty much cratered his stock. I don't think he's going to be getting paid out the wazoo or anything. But yeah, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, to me, I don't expect him to be back, but stranger things have happened. If I'm the Rams, I go hard after bringing the Chargers guy. Oh my God, what's his name? Jordan Palmer. I really, not Jordan Palmer. He's see what I mean? Slip ups, man. Slip ups. The quarterback, Josh Palmer, not the quarterback, but the wide receiver, Josh Palmer from the Chargers and went to school at Tennessee. Josh Palmer fits this offense like a glove. That's if you guys remember when I was going crazy for Jawan Jennings to be a Ram, and I was like, man, I hope they don't tag him. And then, of course, the 49ers tendered him as a second rounder, which was genius, but I hated it because I knew he was going to finally be used. Josh Palmer is that guy. He's just waiting. And if the Rams add him, he could be way more effective than Demarcus Robinson. Great route runner, natural hands receiver, can be a deep threat. I mean, he has it all. And I think he's one of those guys that can be a 1,000-yard receiver next year, a guy that's kind of been waiting in the wings a little bit. So if you had a wide receiver room of Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington and Josh Palmer and Tutu Atwell and Cooper Kupp or no Cooper Kupp, that's a really good wide receiver room in my opinion. I understand some people will be like, I want a big name. Josh Palmer is a big name. I'm telling you, Josh Palmer would be so good in this offense. It's silly. A lot of reasons for the Rams to be distracted this week. What are your thoughts on the game? I really think they're going to win this game. Maybe they're a little distracted, but I just think there's going to be so much emotion. It's almost like adrenaline. Is it a David versus Goliath matchup? No, that's another thing that plays into this. The Rams beat the Vikings, so they have to feel really good about this game. They have to. I understand it has been the perfect. It has been far from perfect as far as the different things that have come up, but I think they're going to be ready. And like I said, bet on Sean McVay, bet on this coaching staff, bet on Matthew Stafford, bet on this defense. That's just how I feel. Don't you think we should use Tutu Atwell like the Cowboys use Turpin? If that means by using him at all, yeah. I think Tutu Atwell needs to be a part of the offense. They need to use the deep ball, if especially in this game. And look out for it, because when you don't have Rob Havenstein, I don't want you trying the deep passing attack. I do think they're going to hit the Vikings hard with the short passing attack. But if you can get this Vikings defense that plays predominantly too high safety, you can get them to start, kind of coming in on this and playing up, because now you're hitting them with the short passing attack. And then you just have the perfect storm where all of a sudden they play single high and you use Tutu Atwell and you get him out there. Stafford puts it on him. I mean, I'm just saying. But I think having a fully healthy offensive line for the first time in 3 weeks, yeah, I think that'll definitely lead to them getting Tutu Atwell involved more. How do you feel about the Rams having 0 All-Pros? Is this an indictment on the team? No. I don't think it's an indictment on the team. I mean, Puka Nacua easily would be an All-Pro if he didn't get hurt and if he played, the season. Jared Verse is, he was among the top 5 guys in pressures, so young guy will probably be up there someday. Braden Fisk almost had double-digit sacks in his rookie season at the interior spot, which is insane. Matthew Stafford just dealt with, injuries on the offensive line all year. I mean, do they have an Aaron Donald? I mean, the closest thing to that is Puka Nacua, but having all pros and not having all pros, it doesn't really matter. I think this is a really balanced team. The balance of this team is very underrated. I'll also say that Dotson should have been an All-Pro last year. He definitely should have been an All-Pro last year. He should be an All-Pro this year. He's special, and he's been just incredible. So, I mean, I think there are snubs, but yeah, I mean, I don't put too much stock into that. I don't really care that much. What role do you think Tutu will play versus Vikings and next year? So I do have kind of this feeling Tutu Atwell will be back for the Rams next year, and they've kind of been, it sounds disingenuous, but it is what it is. It's a business. I think they've kind of been lowering his stock, not playing him a lot, knowing he'll be back next year, wants to stay with the Rams. I think he's going to be utilized similar to how they utilized him against the Lions. Probably not a ton, but if they can get him going, I think it could really be beneficial for them. Over the middle, when they leave the middle of the field open more than anybody in the league, I think he could really attack them, just like Higbee with the seam busters. So we'll see what happens, but I expect him to be used a decent amount. I'll say 20 snaps, but maybe that's too low, too high. I wish they'd use him more, just go all in on him, but that's clearly never going to happen. Non-Rams question, if Cam Newton was to come back, what team would he come to? That is random optics. He is past his prime, man. I don't think any team would want him, but if he were to go to any team, Carolina as guidance for, I guess he'd be guidance for Bryce Young. I don't know. I mean, he's old, so I don't know. What Sam Darnold do you think the Vikings will get Monday? The mid one, the trash one, or the MVP one? I don't think they're getting the MVP one, but I do think that Darnold will have a much better game than he did against the Lions. I do think the Rams are going to get after him. I do think they'll have like 5 sacks in this game on him, but I also think Sam Darnold is going to make some plays. So let's not act like that's not the case either. It'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting. How many years do you think Stafford has left in the league? I think 3. Does he decide to go 3? I don't know, but I think he has 3 years in the league. Do you think that going for a more pass coverage linebacker would be good for the Rams this offseason? I don't think it would hurt. I think it would, I could see it. Do you think if Gurley never would have gotten hurt, he would be playing right now? I mean, how old is Todd Gurley? So Todd Gurley, as of right now, just turned 30. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I could easily see Todd Gurley playing right now if he didn't get hurt. What do you think the Rams do with Cooper Kupp this offseason? Like I said, I'm leaning towards, I think they move on from him, whether that's trade or just outright cutting him. We'll see. Do you think we should have kept Bobby Wagner? I would have loved to, but that was like a 5-year deal. And, not a lot of guaranteed money, but at the same time, like 5 years, it's a lot of money to pay a linebacker when they don't really normally pay linebackers. That felt like a 1 year, let's win a Super Bowl thing, and it went totally off the rails. If the Rams were to trade for Herbert, how much would it take? God, no. God knows. I'm not against it. But I don't... 3 first rounders and like other stuff, hard to tell. Depends on when they trade for him, because it wouldn't be for like another 3 years. So what do you think is the weakest part of this Rams defense? Linebacker, because they don't have the depth. Most well-known NFL player you met before? Most well-known NFL player I met? That's tough. Because it's a matter of who's more well-known. I mean, you'd have to answer it for me, because I met Kurt Warner. I met Whitworth, Robert Woods. I mean, obviously, I'd probably say Kurt Warner there. It's got to be Kurt Warner. Because in person, I would say Kurt Warner. But I was so young. So if we're going like, if it's in person, I mean, then it couldn't be Whitworth, because I didn't meet him. I met him over, StreamYard. But I'm gonna say Kurt Warner, and in person, since I've gotten older and everything, Todd Gurley. I'm going to say Todd Gurley. Kurt Warner's more well-known, I would say. So I'll say Kurt Warner when I was younger. Currently, Todd Gurley. When I met him at LAX this this season, past year, in November on my way home, Todd Gurley for sure. Rank the starting offensive line 1 to 5, 1 being the best. Okay. This will maybe ruffle some feathers, but here we go. 1, Kevin Dotson, currently. 2, Rob Havenstein. I know he's had issues with injuries, but he's so key and critical. 3, Alec Jackson. 4, Steve Avila, and 5 Bo Limmer. And to be honest with you, if we're talking Jonah Jackson at his position, this might also ruffle some feathers. I think Jonah Jackson would be ahead of Avila and Bo Limmer. Because if Jonah Jackson is actually playing at the position they signed him to play at, he could honestly be the third best offensive lineman on the team. That's the thing. That's why I'm so frustrated they don't use him more in those, those jumbo sets like we see with the Lions. And yeah, Bills did it today. I'd love to see them do that more. But yeah, last one. Good Lord. Almost an hour and 30. Just about a movie at this point. Our last performance against the Eagles, we didn't do good. Saquon ran 200 on us. Last thing I want to hear is Eagles fans in my ear telling them they beat us. What do you think the Rams should do to win that game? Sellouts stop the run. I would look at it very similar to the divisional round game in 2018 against the Dallas Cowboys. All anybody talked about that week was Ezekiel Elliott is going to run all over this Rams defense. They had no chance. Well, the Rams sold out to stop a young Ezekiel Elliott that was a very, very talented back and very explosive. And what did you know? On the other side, Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson combined for 200 yards rushing. I would try and sell out, stop the run. You're giving up the pass rush, of course. You're not going to be as vibrant of a pass rush, but, put guys in the box, make them throw it, make Hurts beat you with his arm. Because I'll tell you right now, Hurts beating you with his arm, I can have a lot of respect for him and everything, but that's going to take a lot more work than it is with Saquon Barkley beating you with his legs. You'll take Hurts beating you with his arm all day. So that's what I think they would have to do. But that is going to do it. Almost a full-length feature film in a lot of ways. I mean, what's that movie, Creep? I don't recommend it. It's like hour and 15. This is longer than Creep. This is up there. I mean, almost a 90-minute, video. So hopefully that killed 90 minutes of your time, or almost 90 minutes. But that's going to do it. Appreciate everyone for the submissions. This is going to get crazy. I can already tell. Off-season should be crazy. Mailbags will happen every week, so I'll post one after the game, tomorrow. And yeah, as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And of course, special shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. In addition to that, if you guys stuck around for this point, you want to donate to our foundation, or not our foundation, but our fundraiser for the 4 foundations, the LA Fire, to the fire rescue and all that. We're talking about the Pasadena Humane Society, the California Fire Foundation, the LA Fire Department Foundation, and the LA Regional Food Bank. If you are interested in donating, we are going to be closing that up after the game on Tuesday. So you can donate. The link is going to be in the description below, but I hope you guys enjoyed. This has been a long time that I recorded this. I feel like these are going to get longer, and we'll see what we do about that, but hey, appreciate it. And, I'll see you guys soon. Go Rams. And just a quick reminder, my new YouTube channel, if you want to support me further, it is The Lounge. I'll be having all sorts of guests from athletes, entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, actors, you name it. I am going to bring them on. So I'm looking forward to this show. It's going to get off the ground very shortly. We're over 500 subscribers, so it'd be really awesome to get to 1,000 before we even drop our first video, which will be soon. That's asking a lot. But if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And can't wait to see you guys there. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.